Hi. Yeah. Hi. My name's Adam, and I just need to talk about something here really quick. This is not a rant, not in the sense that we normally think of a rant. I'm a little bit upset about something, but this isn't a rant because it's not about politics. It's not about justice. It's not about, it's not about these things that we're always trying to fix with life, about the things that are wrong and how to approach them. Like I understand what a rant is. A rant is when something's unfair to you and you have to just get it off your chest. That is, I understand that, but in reality, like a rant, you don't expect anybody to really do anything about it. You just need to talk about it, get it out of you, and find like-minded people to agree with you so that you know that you're understood. That's a rant. That's not what I'm doing. I am literally here, and don't mean the word literally. I know words. Literally, that means I expect these words to be taken as I'm giving them and applied to exactly the things that I'm talking about. So when I say literally, I mean not figuratively. This literally, I am making this video hoping that people will share it, not because I want to go viral. I would have cleaned my office a little bit if I wanted that. I don't want to go viral as far as that. I don't care about my influence or anything. I don't care. If I post this up for video, I won't put ads on it or anything. I am just so like something has to be done about this incredibly horrible, real problem that I can't even believe it's happening. So, and I don't mean to do the lead in there. I'm picking my nose and everything. That just shows you I'm totally into this. I'm listening. I'm not going to edit this at all. I'm going to post it up as is and let it be, as off-putting as it might be. But you're going to agree with me, and you're going to need to do something about this. You're going to be on my side, I promise. It's a technology concern that I have. Now, I'm a technology guy. I don't know if you see this. You see that? I've got all these computers. I got them all around. I'm bilingual, trilingual, whatever it is. I know my Windows. I know my Mac is over here. I've got a little Mac Mini sitting over here I use all the time. I have a MacBook in the other room. I have a Windows machine that I use every single day sitting in front of me. That's my laptop. That's what I use. I actually use my Windows machine for editing and video stuff. I use my Mac for editing and video production stuff. Like I said, if I sit down at a computer and it has an Apple keyboard, my fingers go to the Option keys and the Alt keys and all that. When I sit it down at a PC and I end up having, then I can go to the Windows key and I go to Control and it doesn't matter to me. Like I have zero preference. I definitely can see pros and cons, but I am not a brand loyalist. I am not somebody who wants to go out there and be like, oh, these guys really do it. These guys really know what's going on. And it's like they're better. I don't want to define who they are. I don't want to tell you which one's better or which one you should get. I mean, I really think it's custom. I think every person is different. It's just like somebody comes to you and says, which car should I buy? You're going to ask, well, which car, where do you need to use it for? Because I'm not going to tell you to buy a Toyota Tacoma if you're looking for something that gets you across town for 30 miles a gallon. It's just not, this is what I'm talking about. If we're talking about feature sets with technology, then there's a lot of bugs, a lot of features, a lot of things that make them nice to use. And everybody is talking about features. We're all selling computers and buying gadgets based on features now. And the features have, like the companies who make the gadgets, and like I said, I'm a computer guy. I'm a technology guy. I'm not a gadget guy. I don't go out and buy something because it's the latest and greatest. I buy something because it offers me a tool to be able to do something more efficiently, better, be more creative, something like that. Like it improves my life. Okay, that was Steve Jobs' original vision for Apple, was like, hey, maybe we can make computers that are enjoyable to use and that actually change people's life and make them more than just better at making spreadsheets and accounting and keeping track of their address book. Let's make it so they can do art, or let's make it so they can, so there's like that. To me, that's technology. That's what technology should be. I love things like the GoPro camera because it says, you know what, we're not going to tell you that you need a zoom lens and you need all of these other extra doodads and features and all of these different things, extra lenses, and we're just going to tell you need a fixed lens that's wide enough that you can stick on stuff and you can drop it in the snow, and it's, you're going to be paying $300, $400 for this camera that costs the same as a fancy camera, but it's going to just do the thing that you want to do really, really well. Okay, the wanting to do it really, really well is what I'm upset about. I am upset that technology companies have abandoned the idea of doing something really, really well in exchange for almost anything else, to make it sexier, to give it a feature set everybody wants, you name it, add more, like make it do voice recognition or machine learning, or like we're throwing all of these things in here which are cool and useful things, but it is almost like the like if car companies suddenly forgot to, I need to turn off my volume here. It's almost like if car companies were like, we don't know that everybody really needs a driver's side door, and it doesn't really need to work that well. I mean, as long as we have a driver's side door, then it's fine. It doesn't really need to open that well. It doesn't need to, the windows don't need to roll down that well. We just need to have those, because what this car is all about is it's electric. And because it's electric, we're making electric cars. And not only are we making electric cars, we're making cars where the tires don't go flat. And in fact, it'll tell you when your tires are going to be needing changed again. But what about the driver's side door? Why can't I open the driver's side door? And then they're going to say that this is where whoever our car company is, I don't care, Tesla or Ford or whoever, they don't want to make the driver's side door work well. This is where they say, when you say, well, look, all of your cars, I can't open the driver's side door of any of your cars, and that's all I really want to do is be able to get in the car and drive and go places. And that's when the car company that has this particular problem will say, you're just one of those Toyota guys. You're just trying to get us to, you're just a Toyota loyalist. The fact that you want a driver's side door, that's just a feature that's in Toyotas, and you just think that's the only way to do it. But really, our cars tell you when the tires are going to go flat. That's not, you know what I mean? Does that make any sense? I hope that it makes sense. I hope somebody out there is listening to this, and I hope somebody is out there ready to fix this stuff. I was an Android guy, and this is where I'm going to talk about brands, but I am not at all talking about anything today. Like, in other words, if right at this moment, Android comes out with the super mega version and it fixes every problem Android's ever had, or it does simple things better, that's where I'm going. I'm going to go to the place that makes my life easier and helps me do my job. So Apple, who I'm talking about now, my iPhone, greatest camera, great features, great solid, like it's always been the thing that makes iPhone work so well is just the fact that it works so well. Like, that's all I want. I used to be an Android guy, and I got so tired of every time and a new edition of the Pixel or a new edition of what was the other one, the Galaxy, or one of those would come out, then all developers would cease all development. It doesn't matter if the phone came out 4 months ago, like the new Galaxy comes out in, pick a month, I don't know, we'll say October. The new Galaxy comes out in October, and the new Pixel comes out in December. Well, you get the Galaxy, it has all the latest stuff, it's all the support, and then the Pixel would come out, and everybody, all the developers would say, well, that's all we're developing for. And so pretty soon you'd end up with like a phone that was 6 months old, but it was the same as having an iPhone that was 5 years out of date, because it just wasn't getting updates, or the apps wouldn't work right, or whatever. And it got to the point where I had phones that were 6 months or 8 months old, that when they would ring, I would try to hit answer and the software would lock up so much that I couldn't talk on the phone. and I had to wait for it. And then I had to explain to people, well, you know, this phone I got, it's 8 months old. It's not the new one. Should have got the Galaxy, or I should have got, and so it turns into this game. And it wasn't even that the features were bad. It was the fact I couldn't even use the phone to be a phone. And so I changed over to Apple. It was really reliable. I didn't like a lot of things about it. My favorite, just if I'm going to be a brand loyalist, the absolute best smartphone that has ever been made, hands down, quantifiably, this is the case, because it's because it worked, and it's because it lets you do everything that you really needed to do with it. It was like, pick one of the Palm Centro, the Palm Trio. You know, the Palm had it down. Everything was all connected. You met somebody from your calendar, and you know, add something in the calendar. It automatically can say, well, do you want to use one of your contacts and make an appointment with that contact? And if you do that, and then that would, you know, you have an app that keeps track of your billing, and so it would tie into your address book, and it would just, like, everything in Palm was extremely well connected. Now, that's not me being a Palm loyalist, because Palm screwed everything up by stopping all of that and trying to compete with iPhone by separating everything up, and then it became a whole different thing. And there wasn't, its practicality, its usefulness, its function, the whole reason that it worked so well is it just killed it, because everybody went to something else that was a different platform. So this is where I'm having a problem now. Like, we have iOS 16, and Apple is doing these great things for security, which I really like, the way they keep everything within the phone, like your face recognition and all of that stuff. They're not sending stuff over the cloud, and that is to me, that's a major benefit over what Google is doing, or Facebook, or anybody like that, where it's, you know, they're sending information, they're collecting data on all these different places. Apple is basically, at least they say they are, and I'm going to believe them just for the sake of being willing to believe them, that it's all being done within the phone. Well, that sounds great. That is perfect. But it is only good if it actually makes my life easier and if it works. And the iOS 16 update that just happened, and hopefully this video is on down the road, and everybody will be like, oh, thankfully this is the guy who ranted about it and made Apple fix stuff. iOS 16 has gotten on my nerves, and it's not because of iOS 16. It's because Apple has made it 16 versions without fixing things that were wrong with version 1. And not only were they wrong with version 1, but they were also the things that were wrong with their competitors' products. And their competitors, this is what happens within the industry of technology, is people will either move forward or stay stagnant based on what the leader is doing. For some reason, technology companies don't go out there and say, you know what, Apple is really dropping the ball here by not improving this feature and by not giving people these features that they absolutely need. So let's do it better, and let's improve it, because it won't cost much more. We just, instead of focusing on pretty bells and whistles and on you know, all these different features, let's just make it a better product and make it more stable, and make it so that you can take pictures and send them in an email or video. Or is it 4K? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. Does that really matter to you? It might and it might not, but I guarantee you the iPhone camera, it doesn't even matter if your Wi-Fi connection isn't going to work right, because you're going to want to share videos. You're going to want to use that Wi-Fi connection for getting onto the internet. If you don't have a solid enough connection, or even worse, if it can't find cell towers, something like that, you know, those are the things that we don't even worry about them fixing. And we don't even talk about that are so broken, that how hard is it to say, you know what, iOS 17 is going to be the innovation, or it's going to be the version where we like scrap all this stuff, all these fringe things. We're going to make those apps. So if you want those features, you know, we'll make an app for it, or something like that. But we're just going to make a phone An Android could do this too. Make an Android Lite. Make something to where it just does what you need it to do. And here's the feature set I want. I want it to be able to answer calls when I hit the answer button. When somebody calls me, I want it to answer. So that's one that I really would like. That's a kind of a cool feature. The other part is the keyboard. And there is no human on the planet. There absolutely is not. And this is why Apple is so, and Android both, like, I think there should be like, not just class action lawsuits, but somebody's got to go to jail for this. I don't know how many, we talk about texting and driving being dangerous. 80% of the reason why texting and driving is dangerous is because the voice recognition is so horrible when you do voice to text that it makes you, you would be better to type with your thumbs, except for the fact that typing with your thumbs and the autocorrect combined make you have way more problems than you would normally have if you could just hit the buttons. If you could just, like, when I had, and again, I'm going to go to Palm, but I'm not going to Palm because I'm a loyalist to Palm. I'm going to Palm because this is something that was never broken on Palm. Never. And we're talking about, in 1990 or 2001, 2004, whatever. From day one, this worked. From the time Apple had a key, or Palm had a keyboard, it worked. They had these little tiny keys. The key pad on a Centro or on a Trio was easily 3/4 the size, sometimes even half the size of what you have on the iPhone. But it was designed so that you could hit it with, I have Vienna sausages for fingers. Look at this. And you could type it on, and it was like, oh, he hit 2 buttons at once. This is the one that received the most pressure. This must be the one that he wants. Great, it worked, okay? Whether it's tactile, whether it's not, I don't care. I want it to be accurate. I need to be able to type. And to be standing in line at Walmart where there's nothing going on, and for me to have to rewrite a sentence 15 times that just says, I'm going to be late, I'm going to stop and get some food on the way home, and have it not be something where I have to correct it, with my thumbs, because it didn't know what the word food was, or it didn't know. I mean, it's so bad. And yes, you can have predictive text, but the predictive text is only good if the next word that you type doesn't make it autocorrect the last 2 words to being the totally different phrase. I don't need those features. I need to be able to hit Shift A, Shift I, get a capital I, hit Shift at the beginning of a sentence. I need to be able to hit the period at the end of the sentence. When I say, I'm going to the store, period, I want it to capitalize the letter I. If I'm going to have it do anything for me, I want it to do that. And then when I say period, I want it to put a period at the end. Other than that, I want it to, make sense. That's it. And voice to text is great. It's actually been very good on the iPhone until now. And now it has so many predictive features to it that if I pause for a second, it puts a period in. If I say comma on something and then I list another thing and pause, it adds another comma after that. I put a period in, and that puts it into a sentence. Well, what should happen next, right? If your language uses punctuation, and Roman characters, I guess, if there's a period, 99.9% of the time, the next letter is going to be capitalized. Unless you have iPhones, Apple's, iOS 16, in which case you put a period in and the next thing is going to, the next letter is going to be lowercase. Not only that, but you'll hit return saying, I want to start a new line, right? I just want to do a carriage return, old fashioned. I mean, that's typewriters, right? Going all the way back to typewriter. If I do a carriage return, it means I want a new line right there. So on Apple, you hit carriage return, iOS 16, hit return, and then you start typing, and it's like, oh, you must have meant for this to be a part of the earlier paragraph, and it moves everything back up. It repeats things. I'll be typing something away, and it repeats the sentence I just wrote. Like, why? And I'm not talking about with add-on keyboards. Grammarly has problems, and the different add-on keyboards, they just add to the mess. Instead, how about this? How about making it so your iPhone keyboard works as a keyboard? Make it so when I type something, it doesn't predict what I'm trying to type. It says, oh, you hit Shift I, it must want an uppercase I. When I hit backspace, I want it to just, go backspace. I think that's really a good idea. And just go, and when I move my finger across, I want it to move the cursor. I don't want it to say, well, half the time I'm going to select words and half the time I'm going to move the cursor. And I understand you don't have, this isn't that I don't understand how the iPhone works. Hold your thumb down on the shift button. It moves the cursor like a mouse. You can move the cursor wherever you want. Place it in there, hit backspace your letters. Okay, great. It's always worked. Going back to maybe iPhone 2, that's worked. Now they've decided, you know what, we're just going to do this arbitrary thing where we try to figure out what you're trying to do and we do it for you. That is not what Steve Jobs meant when he said people don't know what they want. Steve Jobs didn't mean we're gonna assume that you don't really know if you want to use your keyboard or not. We're not going to assume that we're not going to assume that you know better that you need the backspace. We're going to make it do something. That's not what he meant. He meant just the opposite of what's happening to iPhone. He was saying people are getting so overwhelmed and everybody's asking for all of these features and things, but people don't know what they want. People want something that's reliable. People want something that makes them feel good to use it, that makes them feel like it helps, like it's a additional thing that enhances their lives, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like it just becomes a part of them. No, there's nothing about the changes and the things that Apple is doing with iPhone, and there it is. Stop right there, and you're like, well, this is Apple. He's got a problem. No, the problem with the new iPhone stuff is that they basically took all of Google's problems with Android and said, you know what, those are pretty innovative. Let's build the same problems into our phone. And there is no difference now. And I wish that the difference was that both products were getting so good and so easy to use that you can't even tell the difference anymore. But they're doing just the opposite. And now the iPhone 16, really, and again, I'm using the word literally, the iPhone 16 takes us back to Android, which would probably be around the Galaxy 2, something like that, with the bugs that Android had then. It's that, and it's not a bunch of things that are just gradually going to get fixed. We can't say, the machine learning is just kind of, it's still getting there and we have to let it become better and we have to develop for it. You know what? You shouldn't have done that. There's no reason you need machine learning to do any of that stuff if it actually takes you backwards. If you die in a car accident I'll tell you what my keyboard has been doing when I do my voice to text. I have a lot of kids in my family. I have all this stuff. So to talk about teenage hormones, right? The kids' hormones are up, they're going whatever, and this is the hormone thing, whatever. Every single time, 100% of the time, okay, I'm going to say 99.9% of the time, just so that I'm accurate, it puts hormones as 2 words. Hormones. I fix it 80 times. I fix it every single time. If you want machine learning, then make machine learning work as machine learning. If I say, again, we're talking about iPhone here, but Android, people don't even use the Android system very much because it has the same or worse problems. But if I say, now, I do speak clearly. I know that I have some Colorado, drawl or whatever. But when I speak and I realize Android or my iPhone isn't picking up what I say, I pronounce it better. Sometimes I pronounce it more like I think other people would pronounce it so that Apple picks up on it. And so if I start a sentence with, like if I say, earlier this morning, I went to the grocery store. Now, comma, is how I would say this, because I'm reading voice to text. Now, comma, I'm going to go home. If I say now, comma, every single time, 100% of the time, it says no, comma. Machine learning. If I say now, comma, it says no, comma. Over and over and over again. That's not machine learning. That is not accuracy. There is no way for me to go into the phone and program it and make it say, every time I say now, comma, I want it to say no, comma, or I want it to say now, comma. There's no way for me to program that. I just have to wait for the machine to figure that out, or for Apple to decide, oh, we're gonna actually make it so when he says now, comma, it says that. Just either type what I say, or there's just so many things wrong. And then it really does happen to where most of those things, if I type it out and I correct it, then it's going to change it to something else. So it's not like manually typing fixes the problem, because manual typing throws it off. People are going to die because they're trying to spell check something that they wrote clearly because the phone screwed it up. And so there's that. That's an example of the type of problems we're having, but you're going to see it everywhere you have your phone, everywhere you have your computer. If you have Windows 11, you're going to see it all over Windows 11. The other day, Windows 11, I was in the middle of doing something, trying to fix a problem in Windows 11, and it popped up and started showing me the news over at the right-hand side because of the screen resolution. There's no way at that time, because of the problem I was working on, no way at that time to get rid of that window. And I'm in this this time-sensitive thing where I'm trying to go, I don't need the news right now. I don't need the news at all in my taskbar. I don't need it. I don't need reminders in my taskbar. If I want reminders, I can put an app on that has reminders. I can have a phone. I have a million ways to get reminders. Okay, the individual program that I use should have reminders in it. The news, if I want to go to news, I can go to a news website, or I can put a little alert on my phone so that news is happening. I don't need it built in 100% of the time to the operating system. Like, this is stupid. Like, the company, if you want to make a better machine, make a machine that's made for 80-year-olds. Make a machine that is made for people who just want to communicate, who just want to use their computer for creating something that's exactly what they want to do, and it doesn't try to think for them and do all their work for them. Make it so that when they use it like a typewriter, but it lets them do everything that they want to do. If they want to use it as a typewriter, it works as a typewriter. If they want to do it as a photo editing tool, it works as a photo editing tool. But it doesn't need to be a typewriter that edits photos. I don't need photo editing abilities in Microsoft Word. I know that gives you some of the market and it's really beneficial, but I guarantee you it causes 10 problems for every one problem it fixes. That's where we're just chasing down, we're creating domino effects with all of these things, and we're not going back and making the actual bare bones product, the thing that should be out there, the most useful part of the device. And to make it, and it would be really nice if somebody, a lot of times they'll say, well, you can go to a competitor that doesn't do those things. Well, who do you go to? Like, we're not even talking about the flip phones and things like that anymore. Those don't exist, because it's all about how do we get iPhone? Everybody wants to share the market, so everybody's going to adopt Android or their smartphone OS of some sort. And you need features. I mean, you need a camera, right? You need to be able to send texts, and you need to be able to do Instagram and things. But we've gotten to the point where it's like we don't even try to do it well. We just try to do it so it's in the feature set. And really, it's gotten so bad that, like, if it was a car, they would be saying, well, our car has 4 steering wheels. None of them work, but we've got 4 of them out there. And in future iterations, those steering wheels, they're going to do something, and it's going to be amazing. But our competitor, they only have 1 steering wheel. And that competitor is like, you're right, we need to add more steering wheels. Right now we can't really put more steering wheels in, but the one thing we can do is we can disable the steering wheels in our car so that it's more like our competitors. We are dying. We're killing people. We're dying. And I'm not exaggerating at that. I know that we're killing off intelligence. We're kind of becoming this idiocracy with this stuff. But it is, what are you going to, if you're in the middle of a crisis and you need your phone and you can't use your phone because the battery ran down because Apple News was updating in the background all the time, or you name it, whatever app. Like, that is, you want to improve battery efficiency on phones, make it so you can say everything but the phone should be on. You know, everything but the phone should be turned off. And make that just the feature that it goes into whenever it's, it's, make it an easy button to just, not the airplane mode, but just a mode that says, right now you're just a phone. It's okay. You can send me texts if you want to. That's a little tiny bit of data. Texts are nothing. But I don't need updates on what my friends are posting on Instagram on my phone. We're not all influencers. We're not all businesses. And those people who need those features can buy the apps, subscribe to those features, and they can have them on their phone. We don't need them in 99% of our products. Just make the product that you have do the thing it's supposed to do really, really well, and you will have a product that takes the market and finds its place and sells really well. And you don't need to make 2 of them a year, in 2 iterations. You don't even need to make a new iteration every year. Make accessories for it. Make cases for it. Do something that keeps it cool. And then when you come out with the next version, make it so it works with all those accessories and stuff, but make the accessories better. Make the accessories add more functionality to it. That way you can still feel like you have this thing that still is worth buying and is worth being loyal to. If you're going to release something and say, buy this right now because it's the best thing ever, but we're going to do it again a year from now, and then this is going to be crap. People are catching on to that game. That's why iPhone is having a hard time selling as well as it used to. That's why people don't just rush out and buy the latest Android every time. That's why, they come out with a foldable screen phone, which is fantastic. All the stuff is great. Like, it's a great device, but nobody trusts it, because they know that something better is going to come along and it's going to get cheaper. So just make the thing work that you need to work. What if we just make a really good phone? And then we say, this really good phone, this totally solid iPhone you have, or totally solid Android system you have, we're going to come out with a version that has a foldable phone or has a foldable screen. That's great. That's really cool. It's like a tablet, foldable tablet, and it's still the phone. It still does everything I need it to do. But if you come out with it and it's like the left half of the keyboard doesn't work the same as the right half of the keyboard because it's a feature, or it suddenly splits into 2 screens when you don't want it to, and the keyboard doesn't work because we never fixed the keyboard to begin with. It used to be that Apple and Microsoft were in this competition to see who could innovate and who could add the coolest features. And this all began with Xerox PARC, where they took something that wasn't even theirs. And I'm not saying it was right or wrong, because it was legally, they were there, they did it. We have, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, one of them did this and the other one stole that from the other. Xerox PARC created the basis of what became Windows and Mac, that whole concept. And neither one of them innovated in the sense of creating this from scratch. Both of them took something they saw and they were inspired by it, and they improved it, and they made it their own, and they targeted it at audiences that sold. Steve Jobs primarily went to creatives or to everyday users. Microsoft primarily went to businesses and people who wanted to do like business type work at home. But it was the same basic concept of a visual operating system where you could just drag and drop stuff, move stuff around, rename it, click on it, hit F2, but all that stuff stayed pretty much the same in both iterations. It wasn't innovative on either part, because they both took an innovation that already existed. But what they would do is each one would start saying, well, we're going to add in this ability in this right-click context menu. And Steve Jobs was like, we don't need a right-click. That's just more people to remember. They can hold down Control and click on the button. Whether that's true or not doesn't really matter, but that's where the contest begins. That's where everybody starts saying, well, wait, we have 2 mouse buttons. Well, if you have 2 mouse buttons, then we're going to make it so that ours has better speakers in it. That's fine. That's innovation, but those shouldn't be the things that become the staples of the system. The usability should be, the functionality, the durability. Those are the things that keep it out there and keep people loyal to it and use it. Now we've done just the opposite. Like, we're going in reverse. Like, instead of Apple saying, well, the USB-C, or, they've done it all the time. Apple used to set the trend and basically take technology out of the running. They would say, we're not going to use, USB-A ports anymore. We're not going to put DVD drives in our computers anymore. We're going to make Wi-Fi standard. They were the ones who would set the trends, and then everybody else would be like, oh, we've got to do what Apple's doing, because they're pushing everything. I mean, the old Apple commercial says it. They're moving things forward. They're saying this is a better technology. It's going to improve the market. It's going to improve the way things are. Let's put it into every single thing that we make, because it's so essential. It's going to cost people more because it's a technology that hasn't been adapted yet. There's not as many companies manufacturing it. So it's going to raise the price of our product. But the end result is that it's going to be a stable product, and it's going to have the latest features for a long time. It's going to last longer. That used to be the way it worked. But now we've gone backwards. Now everybody is like, well, Apple's keyboard isn't even that good, so we don't have to make our keyboard that good either. Apple is slow to start up or whatever. I mean, you could pick anything, the phone, the camera, whatever. Apple's not doing that, so we don't have to do that either. And people are just fine with Apple having that problem, so let's not worry about it. And so we're comparing. People are doing it to each other, and this leads into a social comment, but we're comparing ourselves to whether we're better than the worst, instead of saying, can I be as good as the best? Do I have something more that I can add that other people aren't adding? Instead, we're like, well, that person doesn't have to work 8 hours a day, and so I don't see why I should have to work 8 hours a day. And we end up running into those problems where we're pulling ourselves back. Technology is just an example of how it's happening everywhere. That's my biggest, there's my rant. We have got to, I'm not saying we need to compete. I'm not saying we need to be bigger, better, faster. I'm saying we need to do the necessary things with integrity and with stability and reliability. Like, make a car that all the doors work, that gets you from 0 to 60 in a reasonable amount of time, that gives me a reasonable gas mileage. It doesn't even have to have cruise control. If I don't want cruise control, it doesn't have to be there. I'm not saying you shouldn't put it on there, but you shouldn't make it so that every time I've been at 60 miles per hour for more than 3 minutes, it's going to lock the cruise control at 60 miles an hour. That's where it gets dangerous. And I have an Apple Watch. It doesn't matter. I've also had a Fitbit. I have this only for various reasons. It connects with Apple. Fitbit is a better product. Fitbit is a better fitness product. However, both of those devices with GPS in them, like there's a GPS built into these fitness watches. It knows where I'm at all times. It knows how fast I'm moving at all times. So let's take that bare bones basic information on my fitness watch. It knows how fast I'm moving at all times. It knows what a step is every single time. Better be careful. It knows when I'm walking. It can sense my steps. Why is it counting my steps when I'm going 75 miles an hour down the freeway? Why doesn't it say, oh, this person isn't running right now. This person isn't driving at, or I'm not running. This person isn't jogging at 75 miles an hour. How about we don't count steps anytime this thing exceeds 20 miles an hour, unless, or let's say 10 miles an hour, unless the speaker that's built into the thing also hears a sound, whatever particular rhythm or whatever, that says, oh, this person might be on a bicycle, right? So this person might be, there's a million different ways to do it. Maybe the motion of the bicycle, the sway, something of the gyro could tell us, okay, this person is exercising. But when I'm sitting stagnant in a car with my hands fixed on a steering wheel, there is zero reason for me to reach my step count goal. There's just not. And the fact that it's still counting my steps tells me how stupid that phone is, or the watch is. What else is it getting wrong? I mean, really, does Apple really want me to use the EKG on their device if they think that I'm running at 75 miles an hour down a freeway? It knows I'm on a freeway. Like, it doesn't even have to be the thing where I'm going 75 miles an hour. It can check in and say, okay, this person's 75 miles an hour. Let's look at the app, the map data that we own, and see if there's a freeway there at this place where he's going 75 miles an hour. Because, you know, maybe he's found a way to run 75 miles an hour. So let's check. And then, instead of making the mistake of us saying he's done enough exercise by running 75 miles an hour, let's make the mistake the other way that's more logical. And let's say, okay, if they're going this fast and they're on a freeway, that's two if-then statements in programming. That's basic, Pascal if you want. You go back anywhere you want. It doesn't matter, any computer language you use has if-then statements that say, if this is 75 and if this is a freeway, do not count steps. That's it. Like, there, you just fixed a problem that every single step counter has. Why? Why is that a problem? Why am I able to take my temperature with my watch and it still doesn't even know as a fitness product whether I'm walking? That, like I said, this isn't a rant. If this was a rant, then I'd be talking about, you know, like, why can't they make a better fitting strap, or why do I have to, you know, I'm not talking about like the ideology. I'm not talking about the features, which one is, which one's more innovative. It's just the opposite. Like, there's no such thing as innovation if you're creating stuff that doesn't actually make anything better and improve things. And it's even less innovation if the thing you make is killing people because they're trying to autocorrect while they're driving, or because they're walking down the street and they don't see a car coming because they're trying to figure out why it keeps autocorrecting hormones to hormones. This doesn't make sense. Like, it should be something easier to fix, and you shouldn't have to listen to 45 minutes of me rambling in order to know that your phone should work like a phone, and your step counter should count steps, but it shouldn't count steps when you're going 75 miles an hour. That just logically doesn't make sense as a human. If you want to talk about machine intelligence, that's probably very fundamental machine learning. Humans can't move 75 miles an hour on their own ever. So don't give them credit for doing the exercise. This is just the beginning. And what I hope that people do when they watch the video, I'm going to talk a lot about this anywhere else, but I hope that when people see this, that it wakes them up a little bit. Maybe I'm going to hypnotize you a little bit and say, every time you're around technology, from now on, when you have a technology problem, when you get frustrated, ask yourself the question of whether or not you're making the mistake or the machine is making the mistake. Is the machine making you make mistakes? That is exactly the opposite of what machines are supposed to do. The machine is supposed to be there watching us and helping us so that we don't fix mistakes. It's supposed to fix our spelling and make our spelling better. It's supposed to make us more efficient. It's supposed to do our math for us to make sure our math is correct. It's supposed to augment us. But instead, we aren't even augmenting the machines right now. The machines are just guessing at what we're supposed to do. And we're buying it because it's a really cool feature. But in the meantime, you know, everything, machines and people both, are becoming more stupid, or more lazy at least. And we can't expect the machines to fix all our problems, right? Robots maybe, right? If you automate the process of making tacos at Taco Bell, I absolutely believe that's a total possibility, because there's nothing there that couldn't be done by a machine. But I don't want the machine deciding what I want on my taco or my pizza, because, you know, it's Thursday, and Thursday starts with a T, and that's also a turkey, so I must want turkey on my, right? I mean, there is no just let the machines be machines. Let's try to figure it out. If we're going to make the machines smarter, let's do it in ways that actually make our lives easier and focus on the simplicity of what a machine is for, instead of trying to make it do the absolute most we can possibly do, because my life isn't any better being told that it's going to rain in 10 minutes when I'm sitting in my office and I don't care whether it's going to rain. How about I turn on an app and say, I want to know if it's going to rain today. That would be very helpful. Turning on all these notifications, enabling all of these features we just don't need, is making people's lives worse and more dangerous, and making them pay attention to things they don't even need to pay attention to. And what they're being distracted from is their mental health. They're being distracted from their own physical safety. They're being distracted from relationships. All of these things are happening because your LinkedIn friend just posted an article and you didn't know how to disable a feature because you're 70 years old and a smartphone is just supposed to be a smartphone to let you text your kids and get on Facebook and see what's going on. It shouldn't be constantly telling us what we need to do. Make technology for simple life processes, and then make apps to address the individuals. And then we make things better. And it works that way across the board. Make a basic technology and then make customizations, your second and third party products that will actually be the revenue generators, but do them really well. Do them really, really well so that your basic fundamental product works. And, and you're going to find that's always the case of who really, if you want disruptive innovation, that's really what disruptive innovation almost always comes down to. Clayton Christensen's one of my big heroes. And that's what it all comes down to, is we have to be able to do the simple things first and do them well so that we can excel and we can become better. You want to make a GoPro camera, make a GoPro camera. You want to make an iPhone or a phone that just does phone stuff, do it, and you're going to shake up the world. Make something that can be used by people who want the benefits of the technology, but don't really care about anything else. So many people, I would imagine a large majority of people buying iPhones and Androids, they don't want to be Instagram influencers. They probably don't even have TikTok. And the ones who do have TikTok use it for watching more than they use it for creating. Adding 50 features into the phone natively to help it do better with Instagram posts, when you have Instagram there to make Instagram posts better, and all the apps out there making Instagram better. Leave it out of the phone. Take it out. You don't need those features in the phone. You say, we make a great phone, and if you want to add some apps, go for it. And if you want a piece of the market and you don't like, you think you can do it better, make your own app. Apple can make their own set of apps that are innovative and cutting edge and do all those things and help add the features to the phone, or Android can do the same. Android does do that. That's Google is an added accessory, or the phone is an accessory to their product, one of the two. But that's where we, like, it just drives me crazy. Like, where are we going? I don't need a device that does everything. Even on Star Trek, they had a tricorder, but they also had phasers. And they also had all the other scanners, and the doctor always had one of those tools. Like, that wasn't the tricorder. Stop. We can just have a tricorder that scans the area for what is it, carbon-based life or whatever, in atmospheric conditions. That's fine. That's what it's made for. But we just have to make it do what it's supposed to do really, really well. I've repeated myself 50 times. And I still believe it, and I could repeat it 50 more, because it's that critical and that essential to changing the world and saving people and saving society, in the thing that will make a difference about whether the machines take over and we get our Skynet becoming self-aware or whatever. Doesn't do us any good if Skynet becomes self-aware and, doesn't know what to do, or does all the wrong things. We gotta just make the machines do what they're supposed to do, and make people do the things people need to do, and make the machines so that they help people do what they need to do instead of the other way around. And we got a pretty good system. We have some incredible innovation, and that's where we need to head. So anyway, that's all I have to say. That's way too much rambling. That is my entire lunch hour while I'm sitting here working on products and stuff for a real job. But man, I just was trying to compose a text today that was 2 sentences. And I think it took, off and on throughout the day, throughout the morning. It easily took half an hour before I was able to finish the text. And I tried it 3 different ways, and I was like, okay, I did just have to explain what would happen if I tried to do this while I was driving, or while I was trying to pay attention to a relationship, and just what that does to my life. And so I think it's worth the 50 minutes of complaining about it, if it means that somewhere down the road somebody listens and takes what I say and says it to a forum where there's a bigger or more influential audience, and I don't even need credit for it. I don't care. I'm not trying to be the voice of this problem or the face of this problem. I will leave that to the influencers who use all those features on their phone. All I want is to have these problems fixed so I can pay attention to my life, so I can be more efficient and creative and be a better human and make fewer mistakes because of machines. I want machines to help me. That's all. Thank you very much. 51 minutes and roughly 50 seconds. I appreciate your patience for those who listened all the way through, and let me know if you agree, or share it, talk about it, ramble about it, rant about it on your own with other people, and let's try to see if there's something we can do to fix these stupid problems.